So real quick, I just want to say, just in case for because you never know. It's everybody's first time hearing about something.
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to put people on game just real quick.
Okay.
On the off chance, that they don't know what's going on, which
Well, I assume that most of the time. So.
No. We're about to put some respect on your name. We're going to put some respect on your name. But no. But Tom Sniegoski, for those of you who may not be familiar, is right now the writer of the current running the Herculoids series. We've some of you, if you're just now tuning, may not have caught this, but also the co-writer for Vampirella, Dark Reflections, as well as Soul Taker over at Mad Cave.
With my amazing partner, Janine Atchison.
Yeah, which I gotta say, literally, for those that don't know, the sweetest woman in comics right now. Just and that's a tough call because there's some really nice people out there. But Janine's awesome.
You haven't worked with her.
Yeah. Oh no. Wait. Never mind. Let me retract. But also, Tom, you have written a lot of other stuff. You've written for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You have you've also written for Vampirella even before all this.
Yeah, I started that in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like 94.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, so yeah, and that was Vengeance of Vampirella.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were recently doing Vampirella Strikes.
For Dynamite?
Yeah, for was it for Dynamite? Yeah.
Yeah, we did a new run of Vengeance Vampirella for Dynamite, and that ran for 25 issues.
Okay, yeah.
And then we did Vampirella Strikes, which spun out of that Vengeance Vampirella, and now the new one, Vampirella Armageddon, spins out of Vampirella Strikes.
It's like it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Yeah.
Honestly, it's like it's as long as they keep letting me do it, that's what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not kicking it out of bed or nothing. I'm just saying, but no, like you've been a kind of, basically, I would probably say one of the bigger stewards of the Vampirella stories over the years.
I think the people at Dynamite have been telling me that I've written the most Vampirella stories of any writer.
Oh wow.
So
dude, that's
honestly, I haven't checked, but that might be right. That might be true.
We're not fact checking that. We're not we're just accepting it. Okay, we're just gonna accept it.
You don't have to fact check Dynamite. Dynamite knows.
Yeah. I look. I'm sure that Nick Barucci wouldn't just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, apropos of nothing, like without any evidence, any scientific evidence to back that up. So I'm willing to believe Nick on this one. I'm more than willing to believe him. I think. Yeah. But let me ask you this before we really jump into what's going to be going on with the upcoming Vampirella Armageddon. Which, by the way, just want to put this out here because I know sometimes people's attention spans lapse by the time we get to the the later points where we start plugging stuff. Real quick, I just want to remind y'all, this book is going to be dropping. First issue is going to be July 16th. Yeah. So you got enough time. You've got. I mean, pre-order cutoff, I think, is going to be somewhere like mid-June-ish. But I mean, you still got plenty of time to get to your LCS and
they have time. If you tell your comic shop that you want something, they can put a call.
They can make it work. It just you want to make sure that you just got to make sure you tell them because they can't help you if you don't tell them. If you show up the day of, you're like, hey, wait, where was that thing I didn't ask for?
I thought about it. I thought about asking you. I didn't.
Well, now you can be like, okay, actually, you went in early. Yeah, you got in a little bit ahead of time. You asked for it. But yeah, if that's something and that you're interested in, go to your LCS. I'll also have a link down below to the Dynamite website, where if for whatever reason, if you don't have an LCS in your area, there's something very specific you want that for whatever reason they can't get, you can order it direct from Dynamite, and you'll still be taken care of one way or the other. And as a person who has received things direct from Dynamite, they are sent in very sturdy packaging, so you don't have to. Like, I've gotten plenty of comics from Dynamite directly. They like. It's short of like actual Armageddon. Nothing's gonna break that that packaging. But that's there, and also there'll be links down below if for not just that, but there'll also be links down below for some of Tom's other works that, like what I just mentioned. So if you want to get caught up on like Vampirella, Vengeance Vampirella, Vampirella Strikes, or Soul Taker, or Dark Reflections, or is Buffy stuff, whatever the case is. I think I even have some links to, because you also write books. The word I like to use for books, books with words and no pictures.
Books.
But there'll also be some stuff down there. Should be some stuff down there for that as well. But before we get into like I said, before we get into Vampirella not Dark Reflections, because it's fresh in my head, but Armageddon.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? Like what have you been? I know you stay busy, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My main focus has been Herculoids.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like my monthly. But what's interesting is that I've been switching off. Like, I'll write a Herculoids, turn that in, write a Vampirella Armageddon, turn that in, write a Herculoids. So that's been kind of like my cycle for the last couple of months. And Janine and I wrote a new novella called Nera, which is coming out in September. So we finally got a proper release date on that. That's September.
I've been patiently waiting.
Yeah, that's a book.
Yeah.
So we got that, and we got, oh God, what else? We're currently like doing like the prep work, the outline and stuff for a brand new Grim Death novel, which I had done originally. I did a book called Grim Death and Bill the Electrocuted Criminal with Mike Mignola. We're going to get to continue those stories of Grim Death and Bill and some other crazy guys that hang out with them. But Gene and I are going to be writing new novellas of those adventures too. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gearing up. We're gearing up for that. Getting all our outlines and our historical aspects correct. So we're not just spouting nonsense that people go, that didn't happen.
Wait a minute, that's not history.
Yeah, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
This is why so many writers just make up their own worlds. You just do whatever you want. Nobody's gonna.
And most of the time, I do. I mean, but I think in this particular context, in this particular story, it's like the early 1930s, and it's a very specific act going on. And I'm like, you know what? If I screw that up, it's going to be really obvious that I screwed it up. So let us get our facts at least somewhat straight.
Yeah.
It seems like we know what we're talking about here.
Well, like. And you mentioned that you were kind of jumping back and forth between Vampirella and Herculoids. I'm always curious about whenever I talk to writers who are working on like multiple irons in the fire. I'm always curious, like, how do you keep the two things from I guess like accidentally cross-pollinating. Yeah.
Probably because they're so different. I mean, Herculoids and Vampirella, you couldn't have more difference between Herculoids and Vampirella. So I think it's as simple as that. My brain just says, "Oh, that's
you like
this.
Flip it."
Yeah, that's this, and this is this.
I imagine that helps.
Yeah, but occasionally there were times in the past where, like, it was when I was writing like novels and stuff like that, where I would suddenly start referring to a character by a name from another book, and people would be
Yeah.
like, who is this all of a sudden? And I'm like, oh, that's from another book. I forgot what I was writing.
Well, like I'd imagine if names, especially like I would imagine if names are too similar.
Yeah.
Because I've not in a writing capacity, but just in like a just regular everyday talking capacity. I've referred to fictional characters and actual people by names that were close, but it's like, oh wait, no, I meant this person. Apologies.
Again, we're only human. There's only so much space up there for nonsense that mine is filled with just such crap that I'm amazed that I can even string a sentence together. So you're gonna screw up every once in a while. I find my comic stuff, I don't. I find comic stuff seems to be really divided up into nice little compartments in my brain.
I will definitely say this. I think that for like kind of to speak to what Nick was talking about with having been writing Vampirella for as long as you have.
Right.
I imagine the level of knowledge that you would have to have having done that you have probably forgotten more Vampirella stories or ideas than most people have ever even could ever possibly read. I would imagine.
What's interesting about my current run at Dynamite, even going back as with the Vengeance Vampirella or the Vampirella Strikes, is that it all continues from my run on Vampirella at Harris in the 90s. So I'm actually forced to kind of look at stuff that I wrote in like the earliest days of my comic career. So it's really that kind of helps especially with Vampirella, because it's like one big long line.
Right.
I mean, literally, like I've continued what I've been doing in 1994 into 2025.
Oh man,
I know. I mean, that was how Nick got me to come back. He was like, "Yo, you don't want to come back? You want to come back at Vampirella's 50th anniversary? It could be yours 25th, or it would be 25 you were with Harris." And I was like, "Yeah, I might." And he was like, "You can pick up where you left off." Oh, that's dirty. That's dirty.
You got me. Yeah,
that's dirty cool. Yeah, it was almost like that. Just slid right. I just slipped right in. Just literally, didn't miss a beat. It was wild. It was wild.
Well, something that something I was interested to know is with having said all that, having you wrote Vampirella for as long as you have. What I want to know is like when you're talking about revisiting some of your original stories from that initial run. Have you ever looked at anything you've done and just I don't know because you're in a different place then versus now do you ever look at anything you do and be like, oh man, I can't believe I did this, or oh wow, I had this idea or where did you ever look at any of it and just kind of have any kind of I don't know
I find it my concepts and ideas were good. My execution left a little bit to be desired because I was just starting out.
Yeah,
I mean, that was like the first monthly title that I'd ever written. I'd done some independent stuff. Yeah, so I was still learning how to write comics. So yeah, I'll look back on stuff and I'll be like, yeah, that's a little weak. But the ideas, most of the ideas were pretty good. I knew where I was coming from. It's funny because when you read the older stuff, which I actually have done recently to kind of drag into Vampirella Armageddon, and it's kind of yeah, that wasn't done 100%. but it's a good idea.
Mm.
And maybe I can like add to it now, in my
Okay.
in the new run. So yeah, it's funny. What's interesting is that when you've been given that opportunity to continue with a timeline that you started in 1994, um, it really kind of it makes everything much bigger.
Mm.
It makes you want to like connect everything. It makes you not want to think of it as, oh, this was these stories and this was these stories.
Mm.
I have a tendency to kind of go, all of this meant something to what I'm currently doing. So yeah,
I mean, I like that perspective.
yeah,
And I guess, while we're talking about, kind of like where we've left off,
yeah.
we're going into, into Vampirella Armageddon, and, which, by the way, July 16th. I just want to make sure we keep that out there.
Uh,
We're talking about continuing the story,
yeah.
and for like, let's say for anyone who has like, let's say we have people coming into it cold, that
Yep,
might not be as familiar. Like,
yep.
what would you say, you know, anyone should know going in to
Most of the
Vampirella
time,
Armageddon?
most of the time, I make it a point that when I'm starting a new Vampirella series, I
Mhm,
make it as reader friendly as possible.
mhm,
So somebody who says, "Oh, you know what? I've always wanted to read a Vampirella book. I'll try this one." They'll be able to read that and know
mhm.
they're not going to be lost.
Right.
You're gonna get everything that you need for this particular story, as well as basic information about the characters, the world. So you won't like read issue one and go, "I'm lost. I don't know who I don't
What?
know any of these characters are." I
What the
do.
hell is a Draculon?
I actually go out of my way when I'm coming, like, kind of formulating the new series to say, all right, if I was coming in cold,
Mhm.
would I be able to read this and pretty much pick up, what the writer is saying, what I'm saying. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I make it a point. I really do go out of my way
Mhm.
because again, I don't want people not to buy the book. I mean,
Right.
I want people to try her out because if they like Armageddon, they'll be like, wow, this is really cool. I think I'll read Vampire Strikes, or I'll read
Mhm. Like, hey, let's
Avengers.
go back and read that. Let's go read that Vengeance of Vampirella. Maybe we should go back and check that out too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because all that stuff, because Dynamite's collected all that stuff, so
Mhm.
they could buy the trades and stuff. So yeah, so I go out of my way to make sure that it's a relatively painless experience that you'll be able to figure out what's going on. So,
Well, and that's something that's very important because it's a question I get asked all the time. With mostly mainstream comics just because of the nature of
yes.
of how long they run, but like, well, I really want to read Superman, but I haven't read Superman in like 30, 40,
Right.
or however many
Where do
years,
I
whatever.
where do I start?
Yeah.
Where do I
Where's a good
go?
jumping on point? And it's like, there's, it's not to say there aren't any, but like, I
It's
feel
tough to
like,
find.
yeah, it takes a lot of effort, I think, more often than it should,
Yeah.
to be
Well,
able to find that.
and
So,
I find that primarily with the big two
yeah.
companies. And like for example, like if anybody said to me, I really want to read the X-Men,
Yeah.
my head would explode. I would have no idea what to tell them. No idea. And I'm
Yeah.
right.
No. You're like, well, because and I can actually confirm this because I took a break from reading comics for like 10 or 15 years.
Oh wow.
And came back to reading comics like around 2008, 2009. And when I asked that question, I got 10 different answers.
Yep.
And everybody's answer to them was correct.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I think is the actual problem with stuff like that, is that there is no correct answer. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like, and I navigated my way through it largely because I'm stubborn. But for something like, and this is rare for characters that exist outside of the arena of the big two, characters like Vampirella and Red Sonja that have both run for about as long as a lot of your like your average big two superhero or comic book character or whatever. That's one of those things that I appreciate, is that, when we talked before about Dark Reflections, that was something that, like, because I was like, oh wow, I've never really like just sat down and read a Vampirella, comic, before, but now that, like, I'm gearing up for this, I said, let me go look into Vampirella and, get myself leveled up, and so I can, know something. And it's like, oh wow, there's different content, there's different continuities, different stories, and like it becomes difficult to navigate. And it's I think, for people like me who have a pretty strong attention span, although a short one at the same time, I can hyper focus, but not for very long. But like, I'm gonna look for that sort of stuff, but I don't know if everybody will. So I think that's actually really cool that you're lowering that barrier for entry, with every story that you tell.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just, I think it's fair to the reader.
Mhm.
I mean, I always want to keep in mind the fact that there might be somebody who just doesn't read comics, or maybe read my books and wants to see what my comic stuff is like, or
Mhm.
something like that. I would like them to be able to pick up this comic, read it, and go, oh, I get it.
Mhm.
She's like this, and this is the
Mhm.
world, and this is, you know what I mean? I want to keep it as, I don't want to say simple, but at the
Right.
same time, I want I want the information to be there
Right.
that would make them be able to enjoy this,
Mhm.
like somebody who's been reading the character since the 70s. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Well, yeah, because and I guess to kind of dive in, so Vampirella has, this tremendously long, history
yeah.
that
Yeah.
is, like, honestly, like, I would actually say as storied and as, as intricate as any other superhero that's been around as long as, she has. When tackling Armageddon,
Yeah.
where do we find Vampirella in the midst of all the stuff that she's dealt with over the years?
We find her kind of like, again, going back to my version, the Sniegoski version of
Trademark,
of yeah,
trademark.
of Vampirella. We find that she's in this great big post-apocalyptic city called Sepulture City, which
Mhm.
grew up out of a massive war with this demonic character named Mr. Snicks. So this city grew up. So when we find her, she's kind of like almost like a private investigator in Armageddon. So she's kind of like living in like the bad part of town with her werewolf buddy Dagwood, and they're just kind of like keeping the peace
Mhm.
in the city, and they get sucked into a strange case of missing people, immigrants coming from the outside world into the city to come to
Mhm.
live, work in the city, are disappearing. So she and Dagwood actually like take a look and see if they can figure out where these people are going. And that opens a whole big can of worms because she ends up getting sucked to hell. And it's kind of like, oh, great, here I am in freaking hell. I didn't, oh, right. And that has a big connection to a storyline that I started in Vampirella Strikes, which, to avoid a big giant problem, Vampirella did something that she said, I probably shouldn't be doing this because I think it might bite me in the ass later. Well, guess
Right.
what? It is biting her in the ass big time with her being in hell.
Well, yeah,
So,
it's like, it's a what it reminds me of. It's that classic. I opened my mouth too soon, and here we are. Like, it's like, now what?
She even says in the Vampirella Strikes issue, you know, this probably wasn't a good idea, but it solves the problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this was the greatest idea that we could have at this point. And now here we're getting we're reaping what we sow. I mean, at this point, so yeah. So she ends up in hell. Damn, things aren't going good in hell. There's a war going on, and she's responsible for starting the war because what she did, it was like, whoops, oh crap.
Well, you know, I gotta admit, one of my favorite types of types of story kickoffs, oddly enough, you know, is I did the thing, didn't really think about it, worry about the consequences later,
yep.
And now consequences. That's actually one of my favorite ways to kick off. Not with every story, but like with certain types of characters, because sometimes that's life. You know, how many times in life has anyone ever done something like in the heat of the moment, because it seemed like the right idea and it was the best option, or at least it looked like the best option. And then later on, you find out
that wasn't too smart. I probably shouldn't have done that.
It's like if you looked it up in a Barnes and Noble, the section would be called "With the Benefit of Hindsight." Which I don't know if it's not a section in Barnes and Noble, but it should be. Or they'll have like a little table or something out by the register. It'll be right next to banned books. It'll be right next there to it. I'd love to see it. But I really like another aspect of this, as you mentioned, that I find compelling too, is that it's not only that Vampirella's done this thing that has started a major problem. She's going to hell, and she's going to, like, hell in and of itself, like you said, is bad enough. Right. But it sounds like she's going to hell at the worst possible time.
Yeah. And one of the main reasons that she even ended up there has a connection to the fact that she made this error a while ago. So her getting taken there has a connection to that as well. So yeah, so she knows she screwed up.
And it sounds like she's gonna get her nose rubbed in it a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, just
a little bit.
You know, just a little bit.
And then there's some other stuff, that bigger stuff that that I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, oh no. We want to have some secrets. We want to have some secrets.
Yeah. You want to kind of see where I'm, because I lay it out nicely. So it's fine. When you're reading, you'd be like, oh.
Well, now one of the things that I personally have always found compelling about the character of Vampirella is that she wears a lot of hats. As one would, that has been around for as long as she has. But that was one of the things I actually always really enjoyed about whenever I would pick up a Vampirella comic, depending on like what was the difference in time between the first time or the last time, is that there's no telling what I could find Vampirella doing at any one point. She could be doing anything. She could do whatever she wants.
Pretty versatile character.
Yeah.
The type of stories you can tell.
Well, like only I would actually go as far as to say probably the only character in comics history as versatile would probably be Archie. Yeah. But one thing that I was interested to know, you were talking about her kind of diving into her detective
Yeah.
Kind of, shenanigans. One of my favorite types of stories are like, noir stories, or like, or anything that has like noir elements, or and that's usually where you find most detective stuff sometimes, or
Yep.
like kind of pulpy,
Yep.
like kind of pulpy era stuff.
Yep.
When kind of writing her in this fashion, um is there ever anything like, specific that you ever think about, like in terms of inspiration, for that type of story?
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I would say that I do it per se in the Vampirella stuff, but
Mhm.
I find myself doing it a lot in other work, like for
Okay.
instance, like the Grim Death stuff,
Mhm.
the spell that I'm going to be doing with Janine, um, and like I wrote a Lobster Johnson novel
Mhm.
a couple of years ago and stuff like that. I love that stuff. That's like in my DNA.
Mhm.
I mean, if somebody said to me, "All right, come up with your own comic character. We'll let you do whatever you want." Probably 99% of the time, I'm gonna end up in that pulp zone. Because it's just, I don't know, the material is just so over the top. There's just
Mhm.
like there's a real crazy over the top energy to that stuff. I don't know. I find it fascinating.
Well,
Um,
'cause they don't really make, stuff. I mean, well, people try to make stuff like that as like an homage, but I mean, like that's a sort of thing that just doesn't regularly get made
no,
anymore. It's like one of those, like it's like a, man, you had to be there, or you had to like just
yeah,
really be down for the experience to really like
yeah.
understand it.
But I mean, any opportunity, like if somebody
Mhm.
says, "We want you to write The Shadow," or "We want you to write Dr. Savage," I mean, I'd be like, I'm in my glory. That's the reason
Hey Nick, get the shadow. Get the
I
shadow.
I get that universe. I get that
Mhm.
way of thinking. I don't know. It just that's why when Mignola approached me to do the Grim Death book, he was kind of like, "Yeah, I don't think I could think of anybody that would be better at it than you. This is You need to come up with what this is."
I mean, I'm
So that
just
was
saying.
that was nice. That was nice.
Well, I mean, and this is, just, you kind of, just giving you your flowers. I mean, you're a proven, you're a proven writer. You've
Yeah,
done the thing. You know what you're
right.
talking about.
But
Um,
I like the fact that somebody will come to me with something and say, "You're the guy that has to do
yeah.
this." I think that's incredibly flattering.
Mhm.
Think of you per se, what you do fits this perfectly.
I
So
mean,
I
look,
like
that's high
I like
praise.
I like that. I like
Well, and I guess for just for the, the story itself, Vampirella has like, I would say probably one of the most, man, I actually dare say probably the most dedicated fan base of and community built around her, just from, people are like, just just your average, comic fan, cosplayers, and just, people like maybe a little bit of both.
yeah.
And I guess, let me ask you this. I'm curious to see, what you think about this in terms of Vampirella, and what you don't. What do you think would be like, when you're writing, when you're writing like Vampirella, and we know how much you know everybody kind of has like their favorite, they always, have their favorite things, their favorite moments, favorite, whatever.
Favorite like
uh
time period or something.
yeah, like, everybody kind of always, has that one moment in, that one moment in time, or, or whatever the case is with, with a specific character, in this case Vampirella. um for you, like, what do you think has been your personal favorite
Oh man,
for Vampirella?
I think honestly, I think that the early black and white stuff when it was published by Warren, um, what's interesting is when she first started, she wasn't really a character in the story. She was almost like a host.
Yeah.
It's almost like a crypt keeper or
Yeah, like Savant or
cousin Erie or Uncle
Mhm.
Creep, whatever like that. And I think it was Archie Goodwin, comic veteran Archie Goodwin, who wrote the very first story that developed the cast. So it was like her and Adam Van Helsing, who was the son of the original Van Helsing character, and Pendragon, who was like an alcoholic magician, stage magician. She had like a family. It was like a little group,
Mhm.
and they went about combating the supernatural. I think that's where, because that's the stuff that I go, that's what I like. That's what,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much from that point. And I think that was pretty much how she stayed in
Mhm.
the black and white stuff is like kind of like, her and her cast would stumble onto various supernatural things and have to deal with them. That was
Well, and
always my model. That was always my model. It's kind of like this is the best way I think for this character to work is to have like the strong supporting cast and stuff like that.
Mhm. Well, and that's something too. I think has kind of followed her for a long time. And you had already mentioned Dagwood for Armageddon. Um, and I know like with previous iterations of Vampirella, you've usually had a pretty strong cast of characters surrounding her to kind of help fill out the story. Are there any not and if it's a spoiler, we'll avoid it. But like, are there any other like supporting cast characters like or any characters you might pull from like any of your previous stories that might pop up in this one?
Actually, Armageddon, I'm pulling from '94. I'm pulling from some storylines. Like I had a character named Walker
Okay.
who turns out to be Cain of Cain and Abel.
Hmm.
So cursed to wander the earth because he murdered his brother. He's coming back. He was in the original run. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring him back. He's in hell. Perfect place. Meet up and it's gonna be cool. Um, yeah, he shows up in I think like issue like 3 or 4
Mhm.
of the who else do I have? And some of the characters that have been around for Vengeance and Vampirella Strikes, like
Okay.
Passion. Passion is in there, and Dervish, and those characters are still being used in the story. So, up, time to go. No.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, so we're still using that we're using some of the tried and the true, but yeah, I'm definitely digging deep. It seemed to make sense.
Mhm.
I mean, these characters haven't been seen since 2000, and
Oh
probably
wow.
that we probably saw Walker. Matter of fact, the last time we saw Walker, Walker had acquired this thing called the Hell Worm, which was like this like living weapon, like
Mhm.
this giant thing that vomited out like this acid that could kill angels and everything. Oh, last time we saw him, he got eaten by the Hellworm,
Oh.
and that was the last time we ever saw him. That was it because other writers came on and
Mm.
didn't do anything with him. Well, when we meet up with Walker in Vampirella Armageddon, he's in the belly of the Hellworm, still being slowly digested.
Oh man.
Yeah,
That's oh god.
so so Vampirella ends up in the belly of the Hellworm also and
Mhm.
finds him in there and was like, oh Jesus, we got to get out of here. So,
Well, and I guess that kind of brings up another thing I was wondering about too, because I know like we were talking about these series how they continue and play off of each other. Now with you know with Armageddon, how is this one to be treated? Is it gonna be treated as like a is it gonna be like a mini series or like a ongoing series or
they always tell me just write it.
just
Just
write it, just keep going. Just
so I usually find with the Vampirella runs, they
Mhm.
go between like Vengeance was 25, and I think they went 25 25th anniversary of my run. I think they went 25, and like Strikes was like 13.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm hoping because I've got a big ass story that I kind of want to get to that kind of conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping they give me a good amount because
Yeah.
I need to finish this thing, and if they suddenly pull the rug out from underneath me, I'm gonna be like freaking out because I'm not gonna have enough space to wrap it up the way I picture wrapping it up.
Well, I was gonna say, I kind of appreciate the I guess I imagine just seeing Nick somewhere just kind of off to the side, just like keep writing, just keep writing.
The monthly comics, in terms of like sales and all that stuff, it's like so hard to maintain like a certain level of numbers that make sense to keep producing the comic. I mean, that's why you see so many like regular series being announced by like Marvel or DC that suddenly are 6-issue miniseries. Hey, I thought this was a monthly. Well, it is monthly for 6 issues. I mean, so it happens. I mean, it's just I think it's just the nature of the business right now.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned earlier, attention spans.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of comic readers are conditioned to read something for 4 issues and then expect a new number one.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel. I mean, I think personally, I think I like big runs.
Same.
I like creative teams that stay with something for a year, 2 years, or whatever. I find that stuff makes the best comics.
Mm-hmm. It's consistency.
Yeah, it's consistency, and you've had a writer and artist like working together to kind of concoct this really strong thing that's gonna go for 2 years. So
Right. Well, I mean, it's to me, I might be old fashioned in this sense, but to me, it always felt like a promise. Whenever I picked up a comic, if I picked up a copy of Uncanny X-Men, I knew that 99.99999% of the time I was going to be reading a comic by Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum or something, it's a promise to the reader that, hey, that story that you're enjoying, we're going to keep it going. And we don't get that anymore, really, for a multitude of reasons. But I always, and I don't ever want to make it sound like I don't, it's not that I never want other people to touch the book, but it's like I still want that story to like it's always jarring when I'm reading a comic and like, oh well, so and so's writing this week, and this so and so artist is on this week, but 2 months from now and still within the same story, somebody else is doing the art for it, and it's like, oh man, kind of it throws off that flow of of what to expect. And I guess while on this topic, because it actually came up here in the chat, so it's kind of organic. XDMC was asking, who was your favorite artist to work with, Tom?
Oh my, I've worked with so many people.
Yeah, let's say that's
they're all, I mean, most of them all have their like, oh, he's great at this. Love to work with him because of this. I mean, so it's really kind of tough to pick like one guy. Like if you like, if you said to me like, who's your favorite Vampirella artist?
Oh yeah. I say let's keep it Vampirella. Just to narrow it down some.
I would have to, what, as far as Vampirella artists go, the guy that I'm working with on Armageddon did a bunch of issues of Vampirella Strike. No, not Vampirella Strike. Vengeance of Vampirella.
Vengeance, okay. And that was Cooper Ball. Or
he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
amazing.
I
He
was gonna
does, like,
say, I was excited to see y'all both on this for this go round.
yeah. Well, what was cool about it is that when they asked me to come up with this idea, I was like, "Can I have Cooper? Will Cooper be my artist?" And they were like, "Yeah, I think we can arrange that." So I started talk my scripts and stuff based on what I kind of know of Cooper's abilities, and then they
Mm.
came back, and were like, "Oh, we're not sure if we're gonna be able to get Cooper." And I'm like,
Ah.
"Wait a minute." I said, "I've been basically coming up with these ideas based on what Cooper can do. I don't know if like this idea." So they purposely held off releasing the Vampirella Armageddon until Kuba was ready to be the artist. He
Oh
had like
wow.
2 or 3 other projects that he had to finish up for them, and so they actually held him. They held the book for him,
Oh
and I
wow.
was happy.
I mean, I can only imagine because yeah, when you have an artist in mind, yeah, you're gonna have a very specific imagery in your head, and and I actually think, and I know, sometimes, maybe sometimes it's not always this way, but I can only imagine that, yeah, if you know ahead of time, because you're for one working with the artist you worked with before, but also, you know what this artist is capable of.
Yeah.
So you've worked with Cooper before, so like, okay, so when I'm writing this, I know exactly how, I know exactly, like I almost can pinpoint.
I can picture how he's going
Yeah.
to like lay out
Mhm.
the images and how detailed the images
Mhm.
might be and stuff. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
great.
And
He's
I can only imagine that would just enhance,
oh yeah, yeah.
what it is you're already plotting to write. Like, I feel like it could change, maybe kind of, morph what it is, that you're wanting to put down on the page as well. So,
think
just like give it that extra voice, I guess.
I think the confidence that you have in your artist a lot of the times will definitely affect what you're writing. So
Mhm.
you're like, oh, this is going to be great. But then you like, wait a minute. I've seen what this guy can do. I'm going to make that even bigger. I'm going to it's that moment to the point where like, because I know he can pull it off.
Mhm.
I find myself doing that a lot with, and he hasn't disappointed. He's really fast, which is insane when you see the artwork. Um,
Which, yeah, I was about to say, in this day and age, like, man,
I
I'm
know.
just like, man, there's a reason why I didn't get into or why I didn't make any early attempts in life to be a comic book artist, because I'm not fast. I'm incredibly slow.
This guy, wow.
I'm the tortoise who loses. I'm not the tortoise who wins. I'm the tortoise who loses.
He'll send like thumbnails of like he'll get my script and he'll break like the pages down in like little teeny thumbnails, little drawings. And you look
Mhm.
at it and you're like, that's exactly what I wrote in the script. And then he just takes that and he enhances it, expands on it and makes it, the actual page. But it's
Mhm.
amazing. Look at his thumbnails and see exactly what he's doing, what it's going to look like. It's amazing.
Mm. Well, I'll say this, because um for those that have never seen it, to be able to suss out what's going on in a thumbnail. I don't know if anyone in the chat's ever actually looked at them before, but they're very crude drawings usually of what's going to
Yeah.
be there. They're not super particularly detailed. So the fact that, yeah, you can look at that and be like, yep,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
it. That means the artist is like, that lets you know that, the artist has the eye
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
what it is you're putting out there.
His thumbnails are like looking at a small version of the actual page that you'll see
Mhm.
later, and you know exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I also got another one here, and yeah, and I guess this wouldn't be out of the wheelhouse because, technically, um she's done this quite a few times, but Vampirella, she's not afraid of a good team up. Like, is there any character that, if given the chance, you would like to see Vampirella ever team up with?
Like from another company?
Or anything. I say the sky's the limit.
The one thing, and I'm working on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make this happen. Is I want to do a Vampirella Panther book, but I want it to be kind of like in the flavor of like Lethal Weapon. Like it's kind of like a buddy cop. Like they run like they have a detective agency. They run, so it's like that nice like back and forth like character stuff, like verbal play. You know what I mean? As well as monsters and explosions and stuff like that.
I mean, I can see it. I can visualize it in my head. And it's two characters. I think they would actually play off each other pretty good.
In terms of how we would like, this would be something Janine and I would be perfect for that. But it's something that's very, very obvious to me. It's like, this would be the type of book if they came to me today and said, we want you two to do this book, but we need the issue by the end of the week.
It's like,
it would be no problem.
Got it.
It's that clear in our heads that how it would be done. So
it's like we already wrote it.
Yeah,
we already wrote it. There it is.
It's all up here. It's all up here.
Well, and I think too, it just because sometimes you hear an idea, sometimes you can't help but think to yourself like, man, how has that not happened yet?
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is those two characters have interacted throughout the years. Like, matter of fact, Panther's very first appearances were in the black and white magazines with Vampirella. So, I mean, it's not that it wouldn't be like, oh, these characters have never interacted before. No, they've interacted plenty. This would just be in a very specific way. You'd want like that 90s buddy cop movie, that kind of like that. So it would lean. I don't want to say it would be necessarily a humorous book, but there would be a lot of humor in the back and forth between the characters. One's going to be the straight man, and one's
right.
Because
you gotta have you gotta have that dynamic. That's literally the DNA.
Yeah.
It's the DNA of the buddy cop.
Yes.
Genre. It's like, somebody's got to be Murtaugh, somebody's got to be Riggs, somebody's got to be Tango, somebody's got to be Cash. Take your pick.
Yeah, I think that would be a blast. That'd be really fun.
I was gonna say, you'd have me. Yeah, you'd have me immediately. And I guess where we're at right now, before we run out of time, I just want to say real quick, once again, July the 16th.
Yeah.
Go to your comic shop. Tell them you want Vampirella Armageddon, and don't just say you just want it. Say you want the whole series in your pull box. That's very specific wording. It'll get you exactly what you want. There's tons of variant covers, some really awesome ones. And if I'm not mistaken, I might be. I know. I think Mark Spears is even I think putting up a cover, which Mark Spears has been on fire. With not to say Mark wasn't doing good before, but I'm just saying lately Mark has been beating the cover, the variant cover game like down with like a lead pipe. He's just been killing it. So there's gonna be all kinds of amazing covers. And matter of fact, if you go to that link I have in the description, you can actually go to the website and see those covers. So go do that. And I guess you mentioned some stuff you had coming up, but if you had any other stuff that you wanted to plug before we get out of here, Tom.
I think of what we got. We got more Herculoids.
I think is it issue 4? I think that's is it this week?
I think it's this week because I just got comps.
Okay,
So
okay.
usually the week that I get the comps that it comes out.
That's okay. So maybe go check that. If you're a fan of the Herculoids series, as I am, trust me, it's good. I've read it. It's
Thank you.
It's A1. Go check it out. Trust me, it's the right mix of the Herculoids you remember with a little something extra as a cherry on top. And I think and you said you have your upcoming book with Janine.
The novella Nira.
That's gonna be September, right?
September. Yep. And there's a couple other things that I still can't talk about.
Oh man, this is how you know. Tom stays on it, because one of the last times he told me that it was Herculoids. He couldn't say anything, but he knew, but he couldn't tell me. So just know it's always going to be something cool that's right around the corner.
I have and one of the thing I can't talk about, I'll give you a hint.
Oh,
it's that it's Janine and I again, and it's with Craig Russo, the artist on Herculoids. Oh, yes.
Oh, so yeah, guys, just go check out the stuff. Just go check out the stuff. Trust me, you won't be let down. Okay, you won't be let down. I promise you. It's chef's kiss. And I guess, Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, your energy. I'm gonna be. I think everybody should be looking forward to this. Whether you're a new fan, old fan, or wherever in between. I think everybody should be able to find something cool. To love about Vampirella Armageddon. Go check out all the other stuff too. Go check out the Vengeance of Vampirella Strike. Go get all of it.
with Vampirella Armageddon, if you're like an art guy, if you're like looking for some like really nicely drawn pages of Vampirella and monsters, Kuber is just knocking it into the stratosphere. It's like I get the pages and I'm like, oh my god, this is such a great looking book. He's amazing.
Well,
this is probably the best. This is out of like the runs of Vampirella I've had with Dynamite. This is definitely one of the best in terms of how it looks.
Ooh. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All the other stuff look great.
Oh, that's a very, very like difficult thing to pull off. So this isn't something said lightly. There are plenty of good looking Vampirella books.
I would never like say derogatory against the people I work with, because I love all the stuff they did, but Kuba's really like doing something extra special with this stuff. It's really nice.
Well, y'all heard it here. Go do it. And oh, by the way, go once again, go hit all the links down below. And hopefully we'll be back again. Hopefully get you back here, both you and Janine, to talk about Nira. And
we want to talk about Nira.
Yeah, we're gonna get you back in here, and I guess until next time, everybody, stay tuned. And go support your local comic shop.
Yes, and support Tom. Tom needs
Tom needs
all the help he can get.